Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today you guys, I'm like so excited. So this was my biggest client to date. It was a corporate event. I did 2 balloon columns, 11 centerpieces, 1 balloon arch, and then this balloon garland photo op set up in the back of the ballroom. So yeah, I recorded as much as I can. It was a hectic day. It was a hectic few days up until this day. But we're going to start with the balloon garland. Now, the grass wall, the one on the right, the circle grass wall, I rented out from a vendor. As well as I had got a custom sign made for them. And then the square grass wall is mine. I was trying to rent both of them from the vendor, but her square one wasn't available. She only had the circle one, so I just decided to use mine to, rent with me, of course. So when I was doing the balloon garland, I was freestyling. I didn't know what I wanted to do. As you see, I'm building right now, and I'm putting stuff up. Adding my clusters. I knew, for one, I didn't want to go all the way around the grass wall. I feel like that's something that's been done and over with not even just grass wall with backdrops. You can just go all the way around with balloons. It's an option. It's pretty, but I didn't want to do that. So I'm adding just clusters at the top. I wanted to get anything that I have to do on the ladder out the way, because typically sometimes I start at the bottom, then I do the ladder work, which is backwards. Don't do that ever. Start with whatever you have to do with the ladder and then go to the then start on your bottom, because you don't want to be tripping over things or tripping over any kind of work you already did at the bottom with your ladder. So this is me adding clusters, trying to blend in the two backdrops, kind of, sort of, to make them look as one, even though clearly you know they're not as one, but just to try to unify them. At this point, I knew for sure I didn't like what I was looking at, and I didn't like the brown off to the side like that, so I took it off. And I like what I had right here so far. I like how that cluster of nude is kind of dripping over to the circle grass wall. So I kept that there. And this is the importance of like looking at your work as you're starting and stepping back. Because I did like where this was at. I like this shape a little bit. So I was like, okay, let me build on that. And that's what I did. But it's very, very important when you're working. For me, I would say it's very, very important that I learned that while I'm building, to step back. You don't have to step back maybe every time you add a cluster. I don't do every time I add a cluster. Once I add a few, I'll probably step back and look and see what it look like. And if I don't like where it's going, trust, it's not going to get better at all. So you need to start pulling some clusters apart at that moment of maybe what you just did or something you just don't like, and pulling and taking it off, because it's not going to get better. Trust, I learned it the hard way. You would think like, okay, it's going to get better. No, if you don't like the shape right now, it's not going to look better later. Take apart what you need to take off, and even if you need to start over, then you may just need to start over. And now I'm just adding more clusters. This is a quad. I'm just adding, and I'm just building, trying to extend it out to the ceiling a little bit, because the ceiling was like right there. So I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to add something there. And this is me stepping back again, seeing if I like it, and I'm going to attach it now. And I'm adding another quad of that dark brown. And in this setup, I have 4 colors. Every color will be listed in the description box, you guys, along with the sizes I use and the where I purchased them from. So please look in the description box for that information. I knew during this setup I had like a nude, that light tan, and that brown kind of, sort of. It was like a desert sand by Kalisan. I knew I didn't want those touching each other or being next to each other during the setup. So that kind of helped guide how I was going to use the colors, as well as I didn't want a lot of the white one, which was a double stuff, a white sand inside pearl white. I knew I didn't want a lot of that color as well. So those kind of things you kind of determine, I think about before I go on site on what's my primary color. My primary color for me was the sage green, because that was like most into the wild, the theme color. So the primary color for me was the sage green, and then the white sand inside white was kind of like the accent color, you can say, and then the other two were just like secondary colors. Yeah, so that's how I try to break up things in my head when I have a color palette. I don't treat all the colors as primary colors. I've always tried to find like at least one or two primary, then the accent, even if it's and if it's like a chrome color, unless chrome is the main color, then I will, most likely treat the chrome color as an accent. But yeah, colors are definitely hard. I feel like it plays a big part in setups. And placement of the colors plays a big part as well too. So it's something I'm still learning, but it definitely helps with the look of your whole setup, in my opinion. I mean, I feel like it's too much to go over now, but you guys will definitely see me talk more about color and placement when building. Yeah. Right now, just adding, I started on the bottom because I finished the top. All the floral I purchased as well was from Amazon. I would try to leave links in the description box. I'll be tired, you guys, so sometimes I forget, but I would try to leave links this time in the description box for all the floral I use for this setup. And I'm just adding on my clusters. You guys know I build cluster by cluster most of the time. And I'm adding on clusters. A lot of them was clusters of 8 and clusters of 6 balloons. I was going back and forth. Mainly I used the 8 within the garland. And then when I start to get to the bottom, I start to use like clusters of 6 balloons. Or a quad of 4 balloons to like close it up. Like that cluster I just added was a cluster of 6. So I'm starting to close it up. Excuse me. Right here I'm about to do, because this grass wall, I have it on my pipe and drape, and I use zip ties to hold it down on the side, but I actually use a 260 to put underneath my base, and I tied it directly to the grass wall so it don't move back, because it kept sliding back. So I try to make an attachment point on top of my base so it won't keep moving back. And now, as I mentioned, I was trying to keep the nude and that brown separate. So as I added the brown at the bottom, I kind of moved it to the left so I can add another color in the middle, which I will be adding that white sand, because we didn't have a lot of it. As I mentioned, it was an accent color, so I didn't have a lot of it in the garland. So I just added another cluster or 2 in the front area just to hold that in. One thing I would have done differently on this particular garland is on the left side, and you guys will see a little bit later, I should have added maybe another cluster, just to poke it out a little bit. It was kind of like dipping in, if that makes sense, where it kind of just looked like it was sliding down, the shape of it. So I think I should have maybe added another cluster just so it could look a little bit more fuller, and the shape would have been a little bit more better, I guess. So here I go. I added my quad right there. Now I am attaching the attachment points. I used tape, even though this was carpet and I was scared that it would lift up. I had bottles of waters that I brought with me, but I left them in the U-Haul, so I couldn't even use them. But I was going to use them to, keep the garland from moving. But I was able to still use the tape with the 260 and tie that around a balloon to keep it from moving. And then I'm going to start adding my floral. And as you see, you guys, that light tan section on the side, on the right side at the bottom, it's kind of like the garland is kind of dipping in. And I'm going to add a quad there, and I want you guys to see the difference it made. So first I added 2 dupes to turn that quad that I did have there into a cluster of 6 balloons. But now I'm going to go back there in a second and add a quad of 4 balloons to basically flare it out a little bit more. And this is really like the game changer, because it really changed the looks right here. I'm adding in that quad, and to me, I think it helps kind of close the garland up. And I'm adding an attachment point. But to me, when you add that quad there, when I added that quad there, it kind of closed the garland up a little bit more, and it kind of gave it a shape. Let me say that. And sorry, you guys, this is in a different format because I forgot to record for YouTube, and I had recorded only for my reels. So yeah, but I still decided to add it in here for you guys. And I didn't have to inflate not one balloon. I pretty much inflated a lot at home, but I didn't have to inflate not one balloon here. I think I just inflated some 5 inches, maybe like 1 or 2 clusters, but not a lot at all. And don't worry about that space on the left side of this garland, because in the front you won't be able to see that at all. Now typically I would have like closed it up, but when you turn to the front, you'll see that you can't even tell, not one bit. And we had like a half hour left to the before they started, and it wasn't worth pulling out my pump and everything else just to inflate like a cluster or 2, because when you went to the front of it, you can't tell at all. But I'm just adding on my accents. I pretty much did everything at home. Only thing I needed to do when I came on site, like the columns and the centerpieces. Sorry I don't have videos for those. But I do have a video on how I made my centerpieces. I will try to link that in the description box as well. But I did my columns, my centerpieces, even the arch. I had prepped them on the pole already before I came on site. So the only thing I had to do on site was pretty much the garland and add my 5 inches in the floral or greenery onto the arch. So I didn't have a lot to do on site, and I did have help. You guys see my niece there. My brother-in-law came, my daughter's father came. They all came and helped like unload and load. And we had to break down that night as well. And if you guys want a price breakdown, I do have a subscribers only on my Instagram where I did a whole price breakdown on the setup. But all right, this is me adding on the accents for the arch. This was a 25-foot arch, you guys. This was I'm sorry, I'm lying. This was a 20-foot arch. I used 2 8-foot PVC pipes and then 1 4-foot PVC pipe in the middle, so it didn't have like none of the attachments on it. It was, open on both sides, and I attached them in the middle. And this is us working. So I'm gonna let you guys enjoy this. right, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave me a comment. I hope you guys enjoy. I'm super excited and grateful for this big client. Maybe I'll take one once a month, but it was a lot going on with this. So yeah, this is the final setup. What do you guys think? Let me know. Honest feedback. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.